Well, hello and welcome to my channel. I'm really sorry. The stream I'd set up actually cut out and it wouldn't let me do it. It just cut out on me, so I had to start a new stream. So hopefully you've all found me. I hope you've found me. I hope you've had a good day. I got a message today to say that there was no work. That's the joys of being a casual employee. You're never guaranteed work. So I've got all night. I could go all night long if I want to. All night long. Oh, yeah. All night long. So we want to talk about politicians behaving badly. A few months ago, we talked about Senator McMahon and how there was footage of her having to be escorted across the floor of Parliament because it would seem that she was intoxicated. Well, she's caused some more problems this time. And she's got a little bit onto the amber fluid. So I want to ask the question, should politicians be able to drink at their workplace if everybody else can't? Why should politicians be allowed to drink at their workplace? So, and should alcohol be banned? Just a question. So that's the first one. I want to also look at, I was watching Bathurst. So today was Bathurst, 7-hour car race. Amazing stuff. I like watching the tactics. I like watching of course you like watching the crashes. And there was, they had to pull out the safety car. And what had happened was an echidna had decided to cross the road. Yes. An echidna decided it wanted to cross the road while all the cars were zooming around the track. Now, fortunately, none of the cars hit the echidna, but they actually had to bring out the safety car so that they could get the echidna removed. It's actually really fascinating. Then, apparently, Katie Joy has gone and had her hair done again, and she's now a redhead. So we want to look at that. For a little bit. And what else? And I want to look at the parents of the Michigan shooter. Apparently they don't believe they've done anything wrong, and apparently their bond was something like $1 million or something. So I don't think they're going anywhere fast unless they can get $1 million. So I want to have a quick look at an update on that. So, let's get started. KJ isn't. Well, it's interesting that she's gone to a redhead. So it's funny she did her hair after I had mine done. She must be watching me. Hello, Katie Joy. Deputy PM says apology made over incident and Ashland's function involving Northern Territory Senator Sam McMahon. Now, as I said, there's been an apology issued because there were fists swinging. There were fists. So says a contrite apology has been given and accepted over the incident. So Deputy Prime Minister's office says an apology has been issued over an incident at the Nationals Christmas party involving Northern Territory Senator Sam McMahon. Members of the party were meeting at the Kingston Hotel in Canberra on Thursday night. A witness, who has asked to remain anonymous, told the ABC the alleged incident occurred as colleagues were putting Senator McMahon into a taxi. They said Senator McMahon threw several punches towards National Federal Director Jonathan Hawkes. Following questions from the media, the Deputy Prime Minister, Barnaby Joyce's office, issued a statement. The Deputy Prime Minister has been advised that there was an incident at the Christmas party on Thursday night. A contrite apology has been given and received and accepted. Both parties have explicitly said they want this to be the end of the issue, and out of respect for them, this would be adhered to by office. And again, aren't there behaviour policies that they're supposed to adhere by? Again, if there was a work punch-up, wouldn't there be ramifications from the workplace?
Or if there were fists thrown, wouldn't the police have been called? Why are we trying to cover it up because they're politicians, is my question. The ABC contacted Senator McMahon. She did not respond. Her office advised she will not be commenting on the matter. So she sits with the Nationals in Canberra, is currently in home quarantine. She was elected to the Senate in 2019, replacing CLP stalwart Nigel Scullion. In June, Senator McMahon lost her pre-selection battle to the party's top Senate candidate at the next federal election. She was defeated by Jacinta Price, the former Deputy Mayor of Alice Springs. So Jacinta Price is going to be their top candidate on the ballot. So in the week before the pre-selection battle, Senator McMahon denied allegations she was drunk on the floor of the Senate, labelling the claims part of a political campaign to undermine her chances in the contest. So, what do we think? Is an apology good enough? I mean, these are the people that are making decisions on behalf of our country. Shouldn't we be expecting better? Particularly if there were punches thrown. I just don't understand why this is acceptable. Well, that is true. That is true. I mean, there have been claims that he's been drunk on the floor of Parliament too. And that he's been drunk on the floor of Parliament. So, you know, or that would also, Joyce talking about, they shouldn't be so drunk that they can't throw a punch. Well, we don't know whether that she made contact, though. We don't know whether the punch worked. We just knew that she threw a punch. That's all. We just know that the punch was thrown. That's all we know. And so I don't think they should be allowed to drink at work because no one else is allowed to drink at work. How would you feel if you turned up to hospital and discovered your surgeon had been drinking and was drunk? These people have to make decisions. Julia Banks, in her book, if you remember rightly, one of her claims was she was talking about she was sexually harassed, and the person had been drinking, and they were all together waiting to go and vote. So some of them are drinking before votes. It's not on. It's not on, in my opinion. So I think, I think there is a lot to answer. They've got a lot to answer for, and they need to be more accountable. All right. Well, that's right. And the Prime Minister and the Premier of New South Wales were at Bathurst today. Everyone was criticising him because he was trying to steal the show. And of course was taking all the credit for how great everything was as far as COVID was concerned. Okay. So here we go. We're going to have a look at this. So today, a little echidna. So this is from the It Can Only Happen in Australia file. Actually, they also showed an albino wallaby, which I've never seen before. So it says the safety car was deployed for the second time, of all things, for an echidna on the track. What's an Australian reason for a safety car? The commentator says. There's an echidna on the edge of the racetrack. We've got to look after. The poor thing can't find its way out. We need to get the cars under control and help him. This is going to change the game. So let's have a look.
car. And what an Australian reason for a safety car. There's an echidna on the edge of the racetrack, which we've got to look after. We've seen kangaroos, horses, trees and water. So the safety car's being deployed for the second time for an echidna of all things, and the poor little thing can't find its way out. So we need to get these cars under control and just help that little critter off the racetrack.
Now, here's the thing. We know that echidnas are tough. I'm wondering whether... Look. Here, look at this. It was crossing the road. Look, it was crossing the road. As I said, fortunately, none of the cars actually hit it. But I wondered if it curled up in the ball, because their spines are quite spiky, whether they would have actually put a hole in the tyres. When you think that they were going around that corner at 170 kilometres an hour, and they managed to see this thing across the road and they didn't hit it. So I've seen a possum hit by a four-wheel drive and kept going, yeah. As I said, I think it may have, if it curled up into its little ball, like they do, because remember they curl up into a ball for protection, that the spikes, that I think the cars would have come off. It's like if you got hit by a kangaroo, the car comes off worse than the animal. So that was really quite unique. And I got the... Hi, Vidandra. So, yeah. So, an echidna interrupting the car race is really quite, as I said, Australian. And they managed to get the echidna off. Don't tell you a gross joke. If it's an aggro joke, it's probably not. It's probably one that's a bit blue. Correct. So, thank you, Vidandra. Thank you. I've only had one person say they don't like it this like this, but anyway. Can I please give you the news about KJ? Well, usually I keep her to last, but yeah, I can put her in now. She's gone. She's a redhead. She says, after the past 7 months of covering this case, I needed a change. I told my stylist, let's go red. I'm going through something. We also chopped the remaining layers from my pixie cut from 2 years ago. I'm officially one length now. Also, my brow girl did her magic. Didn't you get her brows done a couple of weeks ago? And then she's back on the Josh Duggar thing where she's... What you've got to remember is that he hasn't been... Josh Duggar has not been convicted yet. It's still all alleged. Whatever I think he's guilty, but that doesn't mean a thing as far as the court process goes. So to say that he's joined a notorious group of peds online is incorrect, because he hasn't been convicted yet. No, well, that's what I was going to say. Plan to create. It doesn't look red. It's got a very slight tinge. It looks like a mouse. Is it a mousy? A mousy brown? Then she says, that's all the Duggars. Yeah, she's going through. That's right. She's going through something, Vidandra. That's right. She's going through something. She says, I cannot. Who are these 74 fools? That's all the Duggars could muster up for support. There are some family members and friends who think Josh is guilty, and I found them in here voting results. I don't know why she's doing this. I've seen people talk about the fact that the stuff that she's doing could jeopardize the case. I don't know. So what she also did is she's been pulling up old stories. So this is one where last year Derek Dillard compared Jim Bob Duggar to Jeffrey Epstein. He said anyone with money, power, influence can get away with anything. Jim Bob Duggar spent 20 years covering for Josh Duggar's crime, but what is Jim Bob hiding? Why is his son-in-law comparing him to Jeffrey Epstein? And then she says, we'll pay for Josh's defense, raise his kids, but wouldn't be caught dead at the trial. It's not good for their brand. I was thinking about this. If Anna's at court, who's looking after the kids? She says, if you're going to support your son, why not go all in? Everyone knows that they believe he's innocent, yet refuse to attend the trial. Neither are witnesses. What parent doesn't attend the trial of a child whose life is about to be drastically changed? The Duggars, it's not because they don't love him. Sources believe that a photograph at the court wouldn't be good for their brand. But if Anna's at the court, who's looking after the children? Wouldn't it be Michelle? So could it be that Michelle's decided that she's going to look after the kids for Anna? I don't know. I'm just putting things in here. I'm not defending anybody. I'm trying to look at this logically. Plus, not every parent goes to a trial for their child. Sometimes it's too painful for them. This is Hilary Spivey, Justin Duggar's mother-in-law, defended his thumbs up photo. She also said she was at the trial to support Anna. Justin gave... Anna's parents are looking after the children? Oh, okay. To show no negativity. Told you all, smile for the camera and pretend nothing is happening. Also, no mention of prayers for the child victims. As I said, I often laugh at inappropriate times, so... Apparently, John David Duggar has not said anything, so therefore, it says, and he's silent. The real John David is standing up. John David Washington, Denzel's son. Denzel and his wife makes beautiful children. So because one of the Duggars hasn't actually said anything, they're evil. Maybe they don't know what to say. Or why would you say anything when you've got somebody that's going to blast what you say? Now, apparently, she's saying that now he's facing 40 years in jail. So she said Josh Duggar rejected a plea deal that would have offered him 10 years. Plea deals offer offenders, because when this is law with Katie Joy. Plea agreements offer offenders a reduction in their sentence due to their ability to accept responsibility for their crimes. Because Josh rejected the plea deal, he will not be given a reduced sentence by the judge. Due to the age of the victims in the video he possessed, the judge told him at the bond hearing that he will face a mandatory minimum of 20 years if he's convicted. For receipt of CSAM's Josh, mandatory minimum will depend upon the judge if he decides his prior child of his 5 victims, so what he did to his sisters, is a factor. I'm not sure how, I don't know how you can use something he wasn't charged on for something else anyway. An offender does not have to be convicted of a crime to have past crimes used as factors. The judge ruled that Josh committed the acts of his sisters. The judge uses this as a factor for the receipt charge. The mandatory minimum of 15 years if the judge excludes the past conduct, mandatory minimum of 5. Based on the factors, mandatory minimum sentence Josh faces is 25 to 35 years in prison if convicted on both counts. Sentencing concurrent versus consecutive is dependent upon the judge. In this case, Josh Duggar has worn out the judge's patience. Oh, she knows that, does she? Well, that's the thing, the Fox. It's still alleged. How is she going to cope if he gets off because of her big mouth? Just saying. If Josh Duggar is convicted, there are no congenial visits allowed in federal prison. So she's essentially, here's the thing, she's essentially listing all the prisons he could end up at. I'm not even going to read it. Based on his likely sentence, he could end up in a medium security visit. These are not in Arkansas. Anna will not be able to visit frequently. Why? Why would you be doing this? Why would you be giving locations of where he could be? In my opinion, you are asking for trouble. And I'm not going to show these, but she's rehashed some of the photos from previously involving children and now making them related to SA, which is disgusting, in my opinion. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know whether she can, but if I was Josh Duggar's lawyers, I'd be having a very good look at what she's saying. I mean, I have seen people talk about a mistrial. Use a mistrial due to they could argue a mistrial due to media coverage or you whether it would work. Theories going out there, but if I was Josh Duggar's lawyers, I'd be watching what she's saying because again, it's all speculation. We don't know. While I personally think he's guilty, that has not been determined yet by the court. Hey, there's people that I thought that have been guilty that have been let off, and people that I thought should be let off that have been found guilty. I don't know how it works. Plus, not being in the court, you don't know what's being seen. You don't know what's being said. Well, that too, Bella. So I'm just at a loss as to what she's doing. The Sun, I mean, a lot of people covering the trial refused to go into the details. I saw one report where the woman said that they all had to leave the court because only the jury and the judge and but what she was told from what she'd heard, it was so disgusting that she wasn't even going to even write about it. So I don't know. Surely you'd have to be somebody really sick and twisted to get excited about that type of stuff. But she said, I need to find it because she said something else. I'm going to see if I can find it because this was really concerning to me. Does anyone know where she talks about the research that she did? Was that on Instagram? No, the details aren't needed. Even the age of the victims are not needed, to be honest with you. But she's getting 1,000 new subs every day, and she's getting 1,000 new subs every day, so it's working for her.
So this has got me very concerned. Oh, Bella Maria, here it is. Let's have a look at this one. All right. Tonight I have been researching and educating myself about the pedo ring Josh Duggar was involved in. Now, how would you be reading, researching, and educating yourself? Does that mean she's been watching it? Not much longer, Bruce. I've been good. It took 14 minutes. We're 26 minutes in. The video that has Josh Duggar in the most trouble is titled Daisy's Destruction. This video was produced by Peter Scully, who was serving life prisons for his torture, trafficking, and of children to make his films. Daisy's Destruction was one of the most graphic and disturbing videos ever made. Scully made these videos on demand to his customers around the world. Now, how does she know all of that? Has she watched it? Because if she's watched it, then she's just as guilty as what Josh is. In the video, Daisy's Destruction features 3 girls. The youngest was a baby. Oh no, we don't need to have these details. The expert said she was 3 to 4 months, but reports online say she was older. The baby in the video is now in witness protection. She's no longer an infant. Police saved her life by locating Peter Scully and rescuing her in 2015. Her name is not Daisy. Online, Peter ran a website on the dark web. On the site, members could pay to stream videos on which he made on demand. He was charging $10,000 per video. How does she know all this? It is not known if Josh paid for the video, as it is now widely traded online in peer-to-peer networks on the dark web. Police around the world have been partnering together to get these videos off the internet. People that view these videos are not given slaps on the wrists, as many of you claim. Oh, has she? The fox, that is my point. How does she know the details of this? These videos are torture videos. There is no excuse any of us could find to justify this behaviour. Being a victim of SA doesn't turn anyone into a monster. This is a slap in the face to all victims of SA. Stop speculating if Josh was SA. Doesn't matter, nor will it explain why he's become who he's become. Allegedly. Josh is Josh. It doesn't matter why or what happened to him. Think about the babies he harmed by participating in the child, rings. Josh is you can't say that because it's only alleged. A ped. That's it. That's all. Josh is likely a psychopath with no empathy, and there is no cure, period. Focus on his victims. Stop trying to find an excuse for his crimes. While it is likely to be true, all right, it is still alleged at this point in time. Everything is still alleged. We have no idea. This page is run by Josh Duggar. It's not Anna. It's connected to their family Facebook page. Look, it's not an excuse. Sometimes we're going to talk about the Michigan shooting in a minute. I was saying last night that sometimes people's behaviour is sometimes a cry for help. It doesn't excuse it, but it may explain it and help you understand what was going through their minds at the time. I don't excuse it. It's like when a child has a tantrum or a child misbehaves. Sometimes it's not about the fact that you've asked them to do something. There's an underlying issue. The Fox says KJ is a lawyer, journalist, now a psychologist. And how is she done a triple mate? I don't know how she's done. I'd like to know. A special needs child too, the Fox. So, yeah.
I've only seen the stuff via Llama Girl. I won't sit through her, I can't sit through her live streams. And one of the last ones I sat through triggered me totally, really, really badly. So I just couldn't take the detail that she had. So, as I said, it's not about, sometimes it will explain why somebody acts a certain way. It doesn't excuse it, but it also helps you have empathy and compassion. And maybe you can then get them the help that they need. Sometimes it's a cry for help. So we had a guy where I live, and I'm not condoning the action. The action was despicable, and he's in jail, and he's not going to ever get out of jail. But he threw his child off one of the bridges in Melbourne. And it was out of sheer frustration, and he felt there was a whole multitude of issues. It ended up being a child custody thing. He felt that he wasn't being listened to. He had tried to get help. He tried to get people to listen to him, and he felt that the only way to get people to listen to him was if there was no child. But it doesn't excuse what he did. What he did, as I said, was despicable, and he's in jail for the rest of his life, and he has to live with that, and he has nightmares every night about what he did. However, when you hear what led to that, you can see that he was let down by a system. So, as I said, it's not excusing behavior. And it sounds like the boy in Michigan was also let down by a system, because he always obviously had a lot of issues. And again, that kid's destroyed his life, and he's going to probably spend life in jail and grow up in jail. But hopefully he can get the help that he needs, so that he realizes that what he did was barbaric and disgusting. So let's get to the Michigan shooting. And I know not everybody thinks the same way as I do, but I try to always. My dad was a prison chaplain for 10 years, so he would actually deal with these people. And I once asked him, how can you face these people, these murderers? And he says, I've got to remember that that there is actually a human being there, that there is actually somebody that's a human. And so when you looked at the person as a human, you then, and they also have families. So one of the things my dad would do, was to make sure that the families of the prisoners received the children of the prisoners received Christmas presents, because many of the prisoners in prison, they do one stupid thing and they lose their children. And that's how I sort of do. I try to see that everybody is a human being, and that's how I treat everybody. So, according to this, it's charging the parents is an unusual step that has happened before. So that the parents entered a not guilty plea, and apparently they're going to fight the charges. So the semi-automatic handgun used in shooting was purchased by James on November 26th while his son stood by the shop, according to investigators. Ethan posted photos of the firearm on social media, saying, "Just got my new beauty today." The prosecution also claimed that over the Thanksgiving weekend, Jennifer Crumley wrote on social media that it was Mum and Sunday, testing out his new Christmas present. With some limited exceptions, minors in Michigan are not allowed to possess guns. But no Michigan law requires owners to keep guns locked away from minors. So many states do that. There's 23 states plus Washington, D.C. that have some form of secure storage law, Michigan Attorney General Dana Nassel said. During the parents' court appearance on Saturday, Attorney Shannon Smith said the gun used was locked. But she did not say how Ethan got it. So they're saying it was locked, but somehow he got it. So are they gonna blame everything on the son? Police said Ethan Crumley emerged from a bathroom and started shooting. A few hours earlier, he and his parents had met with school officials. The prosecutor said the meeting was called after the teacher found a drawing on his desk with a gun pointing at the words, "The thoughts won't stop, help me." Now, here is a kid crying for help. This is what I'm saying. What he did was barbaric, but there is something seriously wrong. Now, if he's saying the thoughts won't stop, help me, it's a cry for help. While Ethan had no disciplinary record, his parents were told to get him mental health counselling within 48 hours, but he was allowed to stay at school. His backpack was not checked for a weapon. So the school told them that he needed mental health counselling. Eve Prensky, who teaches criminal procedure at University of Michigan, said authorities must show gross negligence by the parents and causation or the act of causing something. It's an unusual charge to bring. The prosecutor is going to need facts to support the argument that the parents knew there was a risk that their son would take the gun and shoot people. Not just that their son was troubled in some way. This is a homicide charge that carries years in prison. This is not a small charge. A 2019 assessment by US Homeland Security found that 76% of school attacks involved a firearm, used guns from home of a parent or close relative. Half of these cases, the guns were easily acceptable. Charging the parents is not unheard of in the state of Michigan. In 2000, a Flint area man pleaded no contest to involuntary manslaughter after a 6-year-old boy who was found living with him found a gun in a shoebox and killed a classmate. There have been similar charges in other parts of the US. In 2020, the mother of an Indiana teen was placed on probation for failing to remove guns from her home after her mentally ill son threatened to kill students. He fired shots into the school in 2018. No one was injured, but the boy killed himself. In Washington State, the father of a boy who killed 4 students at a high school in 2014 was convicted of illegally possessing firearms. He was not charged for the shooting, but although one of his guns were used. So it looks like there has been some precedents about this. At the end of the day, the parents were told that their son had some issues, mental health issues. They purchased the gun. They didn't lock it away. Is that enough for them to prove intent, or that they should have known that he could have done something? I don't know. I really don't know. But I don't know how you can plead not guilty. So, anyway. Hello, short order cook. So yeah, it's very sad. I mean, that kid's ruined his life. I think I'd have a different view. Yeah. Oh yeah. You think it's more than enough? It definitely will be an interesting case to follow. Now, I thought I read somewhere that bail was set at a huge astronomical amount. They were arrested just on the weekend, but might as well turn up to school. Well, did they find the joint of the gun? No. Well, that's a good question. That from what we read yesterday, they found 2 pictures. One was of a gun, and then and he was caught looking up ammunition. And the mother had said make sure you don't get caught. So if the mother's saying next time don't get caught, doesn't that mean that, she's encouraging him? Just having a look here. So whether or not they say the gun was locked, the boy got it. It was found in his backpack. So how did it get into his backpack? Yeah, bond set at combined $1 million. So they plead guilty to voluntary manslaughter, and the site and her consent, the couple did not appear, and the arraignment on Friday set the bond at $500,000 each, substantially more than the defence. He's 45, she's 43. They have a video link in jail. They're actually in the same jail as their son. She appeared to cry at times and struggled to respond to the judge's questions. James Crumbly shook his head when the prosecutor said their son had full access to the gun used in the killings. Well, how did he get it? Each was charged with 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter. County Prosecutor Karen McDonald said they bought the firearm for their son as a Christmas gift. He's accused of killing 4 students and injuring 7 people on Tuesday. On Friday, the US Marshals issued a wanted poster and offered a reward for information leading to the Crumleys' arrest. They were found and arrested early Saturday morning, 2 hours after someone had seen their vehicles. The Crumleys' attorney said their clients were not fleeing. That they missed the court appearance was a result of miscommunication. Right. Our clients were absolutely going to turn themselves in. It was a matter of logistics. These charges are very, very serious. The court does have some concern about the flight risk along with public safety, given the circumstances occurred yesterday, and that the defendants did have to be apprehended to appear for an arraignment. The gun used in the shooting had been stored in an unlocked drawer in their house. The Crumbley's parents did not ask where it was when they were called to the school the day of the shooting for a disturbing drawing their son had made of a firearm. Ethan Crumbley posted about the firearm online and researched ammunition while at school. McDonald said the investigation revealed he was allowed to return to class on the day of the shooting after the meeting with his parents. He was charged on Wednesday as an adult with murder, terrorism, and other crimes, in which the investigators described as methodical and deliberate massacre. The facts of this case are egregious. Lawyers representing the Crumbley parents contested claims that the Crumbleys left the gun unlocked. Smith said it was absolutely not true that their son had free access to the gun. Well, how did he get it then? The couple's attorney released a statement before the arraignment, reading in part, while it's human nature to want to find someone to blame or something to point to or something that gives us answers, the charges in this case are intended to make an example and send a message. We intend to fight this case in the courtroom and not in the court of public opinion. We know that in the end, the entire story and truth will prevail. Charges for parents of shooters are rare. So he faces life. He will face life in prison. So on the day of the shooting, he was caught. The day before the shooting, he was caught looking up ammunition online. While at school before the shooting. The schools contacted his mother about the online search, leaving a voicemail and email. but received no response. Crumbly's mother instead texted him that same day, LOL, I'm not mad at you. You have to learn not to get caught. That was the response. Yes, I know. And so I've read somebody saying that if they're going to charge the parents, they need to charge Baldwin too. So that was her response about him getting caught looking up ammunition online. You've got to learn not to get caught. Hours before the shooting, he was found with a disturbing drawing that included a firearm and someone who appeared to be bleeding. The teacher took a photo of the drawing and the parents were called. Well, the drawing was brought to a school counsellor with Crumbly and his parents present. Crumbly had altered it. Counsellor told the parents his son needed to get to counselling, but he was able to return to class. His parents did not ask him about the firearm at the time, nor did they search his backpack. Of course, he shouldn't have gone back to that classroom. I guess hindsight's a really good thing. After reports of the shooting, Jennifer Crumbly texted her son, Ethan, don't do it, McDonald said. James Crumbly drove home to search for the firearm and called 911 to report it missing, saying he believed his son was the shooter. I'm angry as a mother. I'm angry as a prosecutor. I'm angry as a person that lives in this country. I'm angry. There were a lot of things that could have been simple to prevent. Copycat threats circulated on social media and districts cancelled classes Thursday out of caution for student safety. A 17-year-old student in Southwold, about 30 miles from Oxford High School, was arrested on Thursday with a semi-automatic pistol. Bomb threat was made at South Lake High School, about 45 miles from Oxford, and prompted police investigation. Wow. So it's sort of started a whole range of copycats. People who make threats could face charges of false threat of terrorism, a 20-year felony, misdemeanor, and malicious use of a phone call. Meanwhile, parents are walking a fine line of ensuring their children's security without affecting their children's mental and emotional health. I felt like I was going to throw up, Jill Dillon, 51, recalling dropping off her 14-year-old son to school on Wednesday morning. It was nauseating, thinking that I'm supposed to be taking him someplace safe. Is he really going to be safe? Fake social Instagram accounts claiming to be the 15-year-old charged in the shooting began popping up before his name was released by law enforcement, and some made threats about additional shootings and plans for revenge. While the direct threats may lead to criminal charges, the spread of false information while deceiving accounts is a problem. In the wake of mass shootings, often it's not illegal and does not violate social media platforms' terms of service. And so they're talking about sock puppets and spoof accounts as well. So there you go. What are our thoughts on all of that? I'd like to know how long he had those thoughts for, and whether it had been picked up before. Had he had previous sessions with the school? Had his behaviour just started to go like this, or had it been going on for a while? They've said that they've only named 2 occasions, but surely there would be more. Surely there would have to be more occasions. And then why wasn't that picked up? It is a tragedy to order a cook, a real tragedy. Why did his parents do? Well, I don't know why they didn't step in and get him mental health treatment. I think that's something they're going to have to answer. As I said, I hope that the boy gets the help he needs now that, and while he's going to have to probably spend life in prison, hopefully he can they can help him sort out what's going on in his head and get him as well as he can be. But yeah, they've pleaded not guilty. And they were found in a basement of a commercial building, but saying they weren't hiding. Right. It does go crazy. I mean, we've seen that in our own little issues, you know, with Salts and Emily D. Baker, and you know, even if Katie Joy did make it all about herself, we've seen copycat accounts come out. Well, that's what I do too, Bella. I hope that he's getting the right assessments. Well, I mean, I was wondering whether he could be deemed incompetent to stand trial. Remember, he's 15. You'd have to be pretty messed up to have those types of thoughts. What if he's incompetent to stand trial? Wouldn't be the first time. There was somebody that, in fact, he shot his dad, high profile matter, and he was deemed mentally incompetent, and he was going to spend most of his life now in a mental institution. So they stated that he was incompetent. Yeah, he's 15 years old. That's what I'm saying. He's 15 years old. And that's why I'm saying there's something, there has to be something more underlying that's going on, and it's more than likely a mental health issue. But what on earth has happened to get to this point? He does look like a baby. I know. You know what? I actually saw, like, I've seen pictures of him, and I just want to give him a hug. And I know that's really bad, but he's only 15. He's a baby. So anyway, yeah, the Draco shillings, yeah, shillings, true. Yeah, and he had no support. Well, it looks like his parents are going to hang him out to dry by the sounds of it, because they're saying that they locked the cabinet. I mean, they keep saying that they're not guilty because he didn't have access to the gun, but how did he get the gun? They're going to pull up. They're going to say that he broke into their cabinet and got the gun out, so it's all on him. What parent would sit there and throw their child under a bus? Well, I can think of one. But yes. Well, it looks like there wasn't a lot of support going on. And I think that this is what's going to be revealed, that he was a child in, from what I can, look, I haven't really followed it. Oh, no. You know, and I'm not a medical expert. I don't know a lot about this, but for me, as I said, from what I get working with the children, usually there is a reason. I had a child that was once playing up, and I couldn't work out what was happening. It wasn't till a few weeks later that I was told that there was that she confided in me that there was something going on, at home, and we were able to help her, and we were actually able to help. But until she opened up, as far as I was concerned, she was just disruptive. But it wasn't. And then as soon as we were able to get to the bottom of what was causing the behaviors changed because we were able to get some help. Well, I mean, that's the thing. If the gun was safe, then he wouldn't have been able to get the gun. No. I need to tell him the news reports need to reflect truth. Well, I'm sure he's not in the only family that is going on like this. I'm sure he's not the only one. I'm sure this is not the only one. Yeah. Well, it's interesting, Princess Jax, because schools in my area are all have all got issues too. I think that might be a troll. If it's a troll, I've just blocked him for 5 minutes because I don't have a mod in here at the moment, so I'm doing my own. I'm doing my own stuff. That's all right. Oh, that's all right. See if they come back, and then I will. I gave him a 5 minute timeout, but we'll see what happens if they come back. So anyway, that's about all I've got for everybody tonight. I know it was a really short one. There wasn't much. As I said, I don't have work now. So if I'd known I didn't have work when I started preparing, I would have prepared a lot more. But I've got to I'll put the timestamps in as well, so you can follow that, because might want to see the echidna who interrupted a car race. But I also think it's important that we do have these discussions about mental health and the shooting. I mean, as I said, a 15-year-old that does that, there has to be something behind that. It's not normal behavior. He would have to have been pretty messed up, but was a cry for help. So, in my opinion. Just to finish off, I'm just going to give you Parliament House in Australia has actually had a COVID scare. So not only have they had parties where people have been getting drunk, Parliament House, we should do something about mental health one night, yeah. Parliament House closed after the Greens minister's staffer tests positive to COVID. So Parliament House has been closed after one of federal Greens leader Adam Banks staff member tested positive for COVID. Spokesperson for Mr. Bant said the staff member who was in Canberra during the last sitting week of Parliament returned a positive test in Melbourne. The staff member is fully vaccinated, and Mr. Bant has returned a negative test and is no longer isolation. He had been isolated over the weekend while he awaited his results. Tasmanian Green Centre Nick McKim, however, remains in isolation after being named a close contact. He was exposed to virus in Canberra and was notified when he returned to Tasmania. He's fully vaccinated and has tested negative for the virus. Mr. McKim has been in isolation since returning to the state in accordance with Tasmania's COVID-19. They're trying to determine if the staff member was infectious while in the capital. So federal parliament has been closed to the public as a precautionary measure, less than 24 hours since reopening after the year's sitting week. Thank you, Rachel. ACT Health are working to identify the close contacts and exposure locations at Parliament House and in the ACT. Masks were mandatory in the building during the last 2 sitting weeks. And the ACT has recorded 7 new COVID infections on Saturday and announced 1 case of Omicron variant on Friday. So that means that New South Wales, South Australia, ACT. Does Queensland have Omicron, the new variant? At this stage, I think it's stayed out of Melbourne, but my fear is it's going to hit Melbourne and it's going to hit us bad. That's my fear. So, I was reading that Germany has actually put down anybody that's not vaccinated has actually. So they've not locked down. They've not gone into lockdown. They've only locked down the unvaccinated. If you're unvaccinated, you're in lockdown. If you're not vaccinated, you're on restrictions, which is an interesting way to go. But then how do you monitor that? The border should. I agree. The border should be closed. But again. So anyway, I want to say thank you all for joining me. I'm going to head off. As I said, I'm not working tonight, so I've got some stuff that I'm going to work on. I'm going to do some research tonight for my next video. So we're going to get that out. We'll get that out hopefully in the next few days. Keep out of removal vans. Yeah. Anyway, thank you for joining me, and I will catch you again tomorrow night for another chat. All right. Hopefully we've got a little bit more fun stuff to talk about. But thank you for the sensitivity that you all have, and I'm looking forward to having a good sleep. Actually, yeah, it's strange. It's gonna be strange going to bed on a Sunday night at normal time. Anyway. I'll catch you again soon. So thank you for watching. Bye for now.